Welcome to the Wayne Bennett Podcast, celebrating West Virginia's people, places, and the culture of Southern Appalachia. Now here's your host, Wayne Bennett.
Welcome to the Wayne Bennett Podcast. This is episode number 39, and we would like to announce that this past week, our podcast was ranked 36th in the nation as a spoken word category on Podomatic, and for us to get ratings, we'd like for you to go to Facebook, Podomatic, Google, Spotify, and like us or follow us, and that'll help us out. And we appreciate you checking in, listening to us. Today, our guest has been a musician, has been in sales, been a disc jockey. He's a friend. He's an Atlanta Braves fan, and Mr. Gary Wilborn. Glad to have you, Gary.
Wayne, it's good to be here.
And Gary's an old neighbor of mine, and we grew up on Klaus Street. But you weren't born on Klaus Street, were you?
No, Mom and Dad lived half a dozen houses on Quarry Street before, and then over on LaRue Avenue, and then two houses down from where we lived on Klaus Street.
Yeah. How old were you when you moved on Klaus?
I think I was about 6.
Okay. I couldn't remember for sure. Now, was your mom a Hatfield?
Mom was at Nixon.
Okay.
The way we tie into the Hatfields is my dad's sister married a Hatfield.
Oh, okay.
And that's the way Randy Fielder down the street. Now, we're not related. We call ourselves brothers, but his mom's brother married my dad's sister. And then another one of her brothers married my mom's first cousin. We don't have web feet or anything. But Randy and I aren't related, but we've got a ton of mutual relatives.
Now, your mom and dad lived right across the street from us, and I'm beautiful people. And your mother, Jenny, we got to mention the cornbread, man. Your mother made the best cornbread anybody I've never eaten any better. And she used to be kind enough to bring some over to me and my mother when I was growing up. Did you ever get the recipe?
I did. Yeah, I can do that.
Oh, really?
I can do that. I've even got her cast iron skillet that she used to make it in. I've still got it.
Oh, wow. Well, my mother was a good cook, but cornbread and biscuits were not her forte. And man, when they first put those canned biscuits where you pop I was tickled to death because her biscuits were pretty hard and dangerous, actually. But she could never, and she couldn't make the cornbread like your mother. And your dad worked for State Road most of the time?
Department of Highways for 35, 36 years.
The house that you lived in on Klaus Street, they called us later the Klaus Street Pansies, and that's I don't know whether you ever know that story.
Yeah, well, I don't know where it come from. I remember the name, yeah.
Well, just kind of briefly, it was a bunch of us playing over Little League baseball, and we used to do that quite a bit, and Sarge Maynard, who ended up owning Jimmy's place, he was a young recruiter. He was about 39, 40 years old, and he coached the Pirates, and they were practicing up on the first field, and us boys from Klaus Street, we were down there playing on the second field. This is before the official games would start, and he wanted us to come up and scrimmage his Pirate team. And we said, well, we might. And he said, you guys are a bunch of rinky-dinks. You're a bunch of pansies, and just trying to kind of rile us. And so we went up there and played them. And, of course, after we beat them, we kind of liked the name Pansy. It's kind of off the wall. So that's and it's 70 years later, 60 years later, it's kind of stuck. So nothing wrong with that. Tell us a little bit about growing up. How was your youth?
You know what, and you know as well as I do, you were across the street from us there, basically. Klaus Street was a great place to grow up at that point in time. There were so many kids up and down the street. I sat the other day and tried to name some of them, and you actually had some that moved in and moved out. We had a good time, and literally that thing that you see on the internet about back when we were kids, we stayed out till the street lights came on and did this and did that. And so, I mean, that was us up and down through there. One side or the other. And I was thinking about this the other day. I don't know if you were ahead of your game, I think, back in those days. You used to organize little sports teams up and down the street. And you actually, and I actually typed out a newspaper one time. I interviewed you and typed out the paper, and and we had a bunch of fun up and down through there, and still see tons of people. It's a little different over there now. I haven't been back on the street since I sold Mom and Dad's house, but one time.
Yeah,
And,
the neighborhood has changed. Yeah, back then you were talking about kids. I mean, just in. Not just on Cloud Street, but just in that particular neighborhood. I mean, there was. I counted one time 28 people that within 3 or 4 years of each other. So getting a ball game or some kind of for whatever you wanted to get into was not hard to do. And you went to Sylvia School. Mm-hmm. Was Cecil Miller the principal when you were over there?
Yes, he was. And I tell people I went to Sylvia through the 8th for 8 years, and they always look at me kind of funny. And I say no. At that point in time, Sylvia went through the 8th grade, and we were in the last 8th grade class.
Oh, I was wondering if you got to go there all 8 years. And Cecil Miller, for a period of time, was the mayor of Beckley. But the mayor's job was a part-time job, and so he was drove that old Pontiac, and he was the mayor of Beckley and the principal of Sylvia School, and there for a while when I was younger, he actually was the basketball coach until Leonard Sims came along.
Right.
Now, was Mr. Sims still there?
Yeah, I had Mr. Sims.
What he taught, and he was tough. He was a tough guy, but what he taught, West Virginia history and math, and a little bit, he was good. I mean,
he taught English. And I remember times when we would have English class, and they'd call it English then, and I don't know, with grammar or whatever. But if things weren't just right, how you had your classes set up in line, we'd skip the next one and stay on English. And wasn't my favorite teacher, but he was a heck of a good teacher. And what I know about English and grammar, I have to credit to Leonard Sims.
Any other favorite teachers you had or good teachers that you liked the most at Sylvia?
I had Miss Wilkes for the 2nd grade and the 3rd grade.
Wow.
And I liked her a lot. I didn't have any bad teachers at Sylvia. That was always Miss Kesey. I can take you to the classroom. I started out with Miss Williams in the 1st grade, and then moved over to Miss Ward. 2nd grade and 3rd grade was Miss Wilkes. 4th grade was Miss Rogar. 5th was Miss Alderman, and she got married and became Miss Wills.
Yeah.
And then I had Miss Hedrick, Miss Kesey, and Mr. Sims.
Yeah, all of those were excellent teachers.
They were. They really were good teachers.
That was almost the same group I had, except I had Cottle in the 2nd grade, and then Miss Alderman, I ended up having her in the 3rd and the 5th grade, but she became Miss Wills in the 5th grade.
Right.
But it was kind of the same schedule. Now, after you went to Sylvia, so you just got to go 1 year to Beckley Junior High, and then
I went 1 year to Stratton. When Stratton became
the
junior
next
high,
year you
we
went
were
to
there
Stratton.
1 year, and then to Woodrow. So I was 3 different schools in 3 years.
Yeah. What kind of activities were you involved with in high school?
In high school, I enjoyed. I was in the chorus for 3 years. Had Miss McClure for 3 years, and I enjoyed that. We did a lot of things out about singing and so on and so forth. But then I got involved in a couple plays where the senior class play and one that they did a musical and so on and so forth. And that was about, I was involved in painting that water tower one time. That's right up here. And
yeah, they haven't, I never got to climb that thing. I furnished some paint a couple of times to students, but never was involved in that. And well, you weren't you all state in the chorus?
Yeah, I was all state. I actually, I got to be real frank with the way it was supposed to work. I was an alternate. Roger Daniels.
I remember.
He was at the class reunion. He was actually there, and when it come time to go for the auditions, he had decided that that he wasn't going to go. He played drums with Don Boyd Orchestra, and they had a gig or something going on, and he decided not to go. So I got to go to the auditions, and in turn, got to do All-State. That was a lot of fun, too. It was at John Marshall High School.
Now, you played in the band also, didn't you?
No, I didn't play in the band
in high school.
At high school, no. Okay. Just played in a couple bands as far as, well, you sang in one of them. We didn't get out of the basement, but
we were the best in the bottom floor anyway.
That was it. We had a lot of fun.
We were in the Boy Scouts. Your dad had started a Boy Scout troop. I think it was 184.
184, yeah.
We might have been the F troop.
We could have been, but boy, we had fun, didn't we?
But I think we added a few gray hairs to your dad. I don't know how he withstood that. But I was actually a little older. I was like the end of the 9th grade or whatever, and I can remember when he got several guys in the troop, and Willie Hilton, he was the only guy that had been in another troop, and he transferred over, and he was a first-class scout, and the rest of us started out training as tenderfoot.
Yeah.
And one particular time, we were going down in New River and going on a hike down there, and your dad said, now, Willie has the most experience. He's a first-class scout. Y'all do what Willie does. And so we start going down this path, and Willie trips and falls over the mountain, rolls down through the briars, tears himself up. I said, I don't care whether he's first class or not. I'm not doing
that.
but it was a lot. And then somewhere along the line, I remember we got commissioned to clean the church.
And I remember that first trip in there.
We were going to get $50 a month or something. The scouts were going to clean the church on Thursdays, and it was a disaster. I know the bottom floor, we had an inch of water. Guys were running in and out of the church hiding. I mean, it was...
Do you remember you could run and hit that one rag on that water in the basement and slide as Dad come in? Oh, yeah. That was different. I remember when we all went home and Dad finished cleaning the church.
Yeah, it ended up being a lot of work for him. But I do remember we learned to salute and march and do those things. And we were in at least a couple parades. But I didn't stay in as long as you. Like I said, I got into the 10th grade, and other things were happening. I don't know how much longer it lasted.
I don't remember. I have still got the troop flag, and I've got Dad's uniform. Dad enjoyed wearing that Scoutmaster's uniform. I think it kind of took him back to his Marine days. But we had a lot of fun. You was talking about Willie. Willie, I don't know how many people might be familiar with Scouts and how it works, but Willie actually made Order of the Arrow, if you remember.
Did he?
Yeah, that was a big deal. Yeah.
Yeah.
Took them all out. They couldn't speak for so long and all this stuff, and then they had to come back in with their Indian outfit and all. But Willie was our best.
Well, I know scout. One year we went to I went to Camp Wilderness, and your dad supposed to be with us, and ended up he got called to work, and so we were kind of on our own, and another Scoutmaster was supposed to be watching us, and man, we were just it was like
we went snipe hunting.
And at the end of the week, when they were giving out all these merit badges, there wasn't hardly nobody in our troop got a merit badge.
No, I remember we went. We were on a site way past up the road, and they had actually brought in a whatever you call them and cut the brush and everything down. And we had that one big tent, and then we had little tents. But everybody was gone. We were there at night, and we decided to take the young guys snipe hunting out up the road. Trouble was, while we were out, the Scoutmaster was watching us kind of come into camp, and there wasn't anybody there.
And we always kind of designated somebody to sneak off during the day and go out, walk out to C&O Dam Road to Daniels and buy some stuff from the convenience store and bring it back. And of course, we weren't supposed to be out of the camp, but that was a good experience, and I think it won't ever forget that kind of stuff. But now, after high school, you went to Tech for a while.
I went to Tech for a year and a half, And then I just found a job and started working, and went back and took a class or two, but I never graduated. Or
Well, during this time, you were playing music. What gospel group were you in?
I started out, Randy and I, it seems like we're always connected at the hip as far as music's concerned. And started playing, I was commuting to Tech with a couple guys back and forth, and there was a guy named Roger Edwards that I had got to know through, he went to Sophia or Stokoe. But anyway, he and his nephew Larry, they were always in the chorus things around the county, and they were actually in All-State, if I'm not mistaken. So I got to know him that way, the two of them, and he and his other uncle or nephews, or I don't know how they all hooked together. They played and called themselves the Allmans. That was their last name, Larry Allman, and Roger was an Allman. But I started playing with them, and Randy come in and started playing drums, and I started playing bass. Hadn't played bass at that point in time. Was not very good at all. But we played there, and then eventually I ended up playing with the group, the Crossmen. We played there 4, 5, 6 years, maybe even longer than that. Randy.
Who was in that group?
It was Larry Garton. Originally, Doug Patton was tenor. Marvin Pack sang baritone, and Robert Mays sang bass. And Marvin played the piano too.
Okay.
And then eventually Doug left. And when Doug left, I'll say young man, he's older than I was, but Ernie Phillips came in to sing tenor. And I don't know how long Ernie was with us, but then the Kingsmen got wind of him, and he left and went and sang professionally with the Kingsmen.
Now, y'all were pretty big time, though, weren't you? I mean,
yeah, we might have been legends in our own mind. I don't know.
I mean, where all did you play?
We played as far north as Delaware and as far south as Florida, pretty much up and down the East Coast, but not we did cover the East Coast. What we did, we entered a talent contest that the Hoppers had at was it Watermelon Park over in Virginia. We won that contest, got a recording session out of it, but the key thing was there was people from all over, and they were all looking to book people and bring them in, and that's where we really got us. We actually sang in Ocala, Florida one time. I don't know if you really call it, if we really knew. It was a campaign rally for George Wallace.
Really?
I've got pictures of us with George Wallace. Wow. And it was funny. We set our stuff. There was 10,000 people there.
Wow.
And they fed them all. We took our stuff down to set it up on the stage, which was across a pond from where the people were. Well, the Secret Service come through, and we had to take Randy had to take the fronts off his drums. I had to take my amp. They just checked everything before we were allowed to put it on the stage. And it was us and a group called Willie Wynn and the Tennesseans. Willie Wynn was tenor singer with Oak Ridge Boys before Joe Bonsall came in. And
did you make any money at this?
We probably spent more than, you know.
Did you have recording? I mean, did you record some records?
We did about 6 or 7 or 8 albums.
Wow.
Back on 2012, 2013, we had a reunion concert at First Baptist. And it was amazing. We did what we could to promote it, but the building was full. And the reason I remember it was on May the 18th, 2013. It was on my mom's birthday, the year after she passed away. And there was a bunch of people. Everybody that was ever in the group, with the exception of one guy, tenor Mike Daniels. He passed away. He had cancer. And then another guy that sang with us for a period of time, he was sick, and he couldn't make it. But it was a lot of fun, you know. Yeah, but no, as far as making it, you can relate to this guy. We had a bus, and people used to laugh. What do you need a bus for? Well, you could get all the equipment underneath. You could all travel together. And if you're around town, you didn't have to load up and go. It was always right there. But I remember somebody you can probably know, Beef Whitener.
Oh, yeah.
He made the comment one time. He said, "We all got a bus. What are y'all singing for, the Lord or the bus?" You know, Beef. Rest his soul. But yeah, it was fun. I don't know.
You still play any?
I try, but the fingers don't work like they. I can play the bass a little bit because it don't take but a finger or two. But I tried to get my acoustic out the other day, and if this hand cooperates, this one doesn't.
Well, Diane's dad is still playing. He's 90 years old. He's playing the bass.
You played bass.
Not very good. But
I remember when you got it, you called me and said, "I got a big amp, man," and you had that. Who ended up with that one? Curtis?
Yeah,
Robinson.
Yeah. And I ended up with the 69th edition, which we don't know why we called it the 69th edition, but stayed with them for a little while. But it was a lot of fun. You got involved in softball too. I remember you had a softball team.
Yeah, I that kind of started with my first wife, Lisa McMillan. She was a softball player. She was a good softball player. She was a better softball player than I was. But she had a team, and they played, and they won, I think, the women's state championship over in Bluefield one time. I just started getting to know some guys, so I started putting the team together. Weren't very good to start with, but we got better. I got to know ball players, and as I don't know if you remember Dusty Smith.
Dave Smith.
Yeah, he passed away, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. But he made the comment to somebody one time, Gary's okay as a ball player, but he surrounds himself with good ball players. and
well, I know you had a couple of them guys that played for Norse Roofing and some of them. So what was the name of your team?
We started off as Industrial Brake.
Okay.
That was my first wife's father's company.
Oh, okay.
And then it looked better on the front of the jersey. We just called ourselves Brake after the first or second year. And then I got involved with Jeff Graham, and I was able to hang around and be the 11th or 12th player for them. I didn't have much of an arm, but I did learn to hit fairly good. I could hit the right field. It was always, if there was somebody on base, I'd get them moved over. But
that's when softball was huge. And Jeff was on here a couple of weeks ago, and we got talking just how big. So I mean, there was tournament every weekend. There was a ton of teams in the league down there, and I mean, it was. Bobby Singer said it cost him one marriage playing every weekend.
I understand that one. Yeah. We let's give Jeff Graham his dues. I mean, he was Mr. Softball. He always had. I've always said Jeff had a whole lot to do with him getting those fields built down there at Fitzpatrick, and we'd go down there. 60-some teams. We had a state tournament. I think it might have been
Class D state tournament.
Yeah, down there, and I was umpiring. I didn't play in that one. I was on Jeff's team that was in the tournament, but I was umpiring, so I didn't play. And he set food up on that old building that they tore down, and I'm sitting down there with Champ Warner, me and Jeff and they had a game that was rained out over at Shady. It's just 2:00 in the morning.
Wow.
Jeff come over and said, "You guys want to do a game?" So Champ and I went down on the field and did a game that actually involved Bimbo Coles. He played for a team called Longneckers.
Oh, but darn.
And they came in and played and called that game 2:00 in the morning. We played Bimbo one place down in one state tournament down in Huntington, and he sat in our dugout because it was hot in the one that he was in. And he was leaving after the tournament was over, going to Miami. And he sat and talked to us. And it's funny. Somebody asked for his autograph. Bimbo. And this kid's father said, one of the guys on our team said, "Well, you didn't ask for my autograph, and I played with Bimbo." And the guy said, "Yeah, but you ain't leaving going to play for the Heat either."
Well, glad you brought Bimbo up. You were also you and your dad were big basketball fans. Are you still basketball?
I still am, but I haven't been to a game in a while.
Yeah.
The year that they played down in Atlanta when they had Colacerto and Scruggs and Fleener and Ball, that year we didn't miss a game. I mean, we went to Ohio to see the game, and they moved it from Ohio University over to another place because there was so much snow on top of that place. And I remember we were sitting down in Atlanta, and Fred Persinger, we had Taylor, my daughter, with us, and she was born in August, and I think this was in January, and he motioned for me to come down, and I got up and he pointed at Taylor, so I took Taylor down. She's babe in arms, and he said, "I didn't want to see you." He says, "I wanted to see the youngest Flying Eagle fan in the building." And it would.
Now you worked at BJW Printers and Chapman, and is BJW is not open anymore?
No, COVID got them. 90% of what, or probably 80% of what we did down there was with outside salesmen. The business could not exist with walk-in business. Yeah. And we had a great sales staff down there, and Pete was the manager at that point in time, Pete Tirico, and but if you couldn't get out and go call on your customers, you couldn't do it by phone.
Well, the printing business too, with all the stuff people do at home now, and I mean it changed a lot. You know, it made it a little difficult. You know, and a lot of printing companies have closed down. But when you worked with Chapman, you got to ride around with Bob Pruitt a little bit.
With Bobby Pruitt, yeah. He is a hoot. He actually was working for Chapman as kind of he was sales manager for a while, and then he never really wanted to do that. He was kind of put in that position due to some circumstances. But once they changed back over to a different sales manager, he still rode around as kind of a sales supervisor. We were over in Charleston one time, and I was driving. He was riding on the right side, and he's on the cell phone. We stopped at a stoplight. A policeman pulled up on us beside the left, and he was on the cell phone on the other side. And I said, I heard him go, "I got to put the phone down. There's a policeman beside of us." And he started to put the phone down, and I went, "Coach, you're not driving." And he went, "Oh yeah." He's a good guy. He really, really is, and we had a lot of fun running around. Don't ever let him try to convince you that it was me and I forget who. There was 4 of us, and we stopped over at Mount Hope, Giuseppe's. Mm-hmm. We were going to eat there. Well, I was in the back seat, and they had enabled the kids' locks in the back seat. Everybody got out, locked me in the car, and they're sitting in the window and I'm at the car window looking at them, going. Finally, somebody else across the restaurant told him. I said, "I think that guy's trying to get a hold of you." So that's one that he'll tell you and wear me out with it.
Now, of course, you have one daughter, Taylor,
right?
And tell us about your grandkids.
Oh, I got two grandkids. Well, actually, I got 3. I gotta leave my buddy Bentley in there. He's actually like my step grandkid, but he's as much a grandkid as the rest. He's 10, and then I've got Ryland James. He's 2. He was 2 in July, and then my youngest, Jackson Cruz Williams. That's my daughter's married to Ethan Williams. He was born a week later, being exactly 2 years from Ryland. Uh-huh. So they're right together. I told my son-in-law, I said, "Leave her alone around Thanksgiving, okay?"
So she's got a full-time job.
Yeah, she is. She's a stay-at-home mom, but she does a great job at it.
Can't let you go without talking. When she was younger, you started taking her to Disney World. And how many times have you guys been to Disney World? And
she's about to catch me because they've gone a couple times that I haven't. But It's somewhere around 45.
Wow.
We just, the first time I took her, she was 4 years old. I have family in Sandusky, Ohio, and they came in on Thanksgiving, and we went down for that. We had a good time. They actually live in Sandusky, right there at Cedar Point. All of my cousins grew up working at Cedar Point at some point while they were growing up, and they came down, and now she likes Disney World, people,
Has it changed a whole lot over the years?
It really has, but it hasn't. What's changed are the prices keep going up. But they're redoing a lot of stuff, adding new rides and stuff. I always told somebody, I said, if you want to go for a ride and that you want something theatrical, you go to Disney World. If you want to go somewhere and ride roller coasters that'll blow your head off, you go to Cedar Point. It's two different concepts. But yeah, she was 4 years old. First time I was ever at Disney World was when I was talking about when we sang in Ocala for the George Wallace campaign event. Steve Fielder lived down there at that point in time.
I've listened to some of his podcasts, the Nightlife Nation. I'm not a coon dog hunter or whatever, but I listen to them. They're kind of entertaining. But now we've been. I went one time. We went in August, and it was hot. Oh, it was miserable. But we took the grandkids, and then they went again. But I didn't go the second time.
Right.
But Diane and her family went too. But it was we enjoyed the heck out of it. But well, Gary, what you got? What's on the bucket list now? I mean, you're 68, 69?
68,
68.
yeah. But don't tell anybody.
Okay.
It's not the age; it's the mileage. But yeah, I retired. Mm-hmm. Got bored sitting around the house, and I work for Analabs now. I do water testing out around, and we do drug testing around the mines. I do that for my kids, for my grandkids. Mm-hmm. Sitting around just ain't for me. And but other than that, maybe go to Disney World again soon.
Well, we appreciate you coming on, and the only thing I'm going to ask you, will you come back sometime?
Oh, I'd love to. We ain't touched. We ain't touched anything. Sitting here drinking coffee at your table. Your mom and my mom did that just a whole bunch.
Sitting on the front porch.
Yeah.
And that's what a lot of people don't understand. I think when if we ask them to come and talk to us, that we're sitting in a studio with headphones and all this stuff. We're sitting at the kitchen table, and and that's the way we want to keep it for a while. But appreciate you, buddy, and we'll talk to you. And those people out there, that anybody interested in being on our show, we'd love to have you. Just contact us at awbennett50. At gmail.com, or look us up on Facebook, and we'll get back with you. And remember, if you ain't dead yet, you ain't done yet. And this is Wayne Bennett. God bless you.